Today I'm going to show you the recipe for Zesty Garden Salsa. This comes from the Ball Canning Cookbook, and I've added just a couple of extra ingredients. Here is the recipe from the cookbook itself so that you can follow the directions exactly if you choose to. The first step is to peel the tomatoes, and you'll do this by scoring the bottom, putting them into boiling water for about 30 seconds, and then shocking them by putting them into an ice water bath. This will make it so the peels slip right off your tomatoes, no matter what kind of tomatoes you're using. Here I'm using mostly San Marzano, Roma, and some Amish paste tomatoes for the salsa. Here we're shocking in that cold water. That will stop the cooking process for us because we don't want the tomatoes to actually be cooked, just for the skins to separate from the fruit. Next, here we are peeling the skins off, and you can see just how easy it comes off. And we're going to get the stems off as well. And I'm just peeling these and then putting them into a bucket next to me here and keeping the peels separate. I throw the peels away, but I know some people like to take those peels and turn them into like a tomato powder for thickening or flavoring, or create like a tomato broth type of thing. I don't do that, but I do just get rid of them. I am stopping here just quickly to save some of the seeds. So I do like to save my own seeds, and for tomatoes, you just want to scoop them out, and you're going to put them in a jar with some water on top and give it a shake, and then leave that jar set for about 2 to 4 days. And this will ferment those seeds and get all of the outer coating off of those seeds, that kind of gooey part, and then you can separate them in so that you can get the good seeds and save and dry those. So here I'm just putting it in that jar. I'm going to my sink for a little bit of water, adding that on top, and then I'm just going to screw the top to the jar down and give it a good shake. Next, we need to dice the tomatoes. So here I'm just cutting them in half, scooping out the seeds and the cores, and then stripping them and dicing. Next, we'll prepare the rest of our vegetables. So we'll do dicing our peppers and onions. So I'm just cutting open the peppers, pulling out the seeds, cutting them into strips, and then bunching them together and doing into diced chunks. You'll want these to be similar in size and pretty small because you'll want them to be the size you want them on your chips. I'm using all of these orange blaze peppers because that's what I have ripe in my garden right now. But you could use green peppers, red peppers, anything that's just a sweet pepper for this part of the recipe. And it's 5 cups, so lots of peppers here are getting cut up. I'm going to make a recommendation here that you wear gloves when working with hot peppers. If you've ever worked with a hot pepper and then maybe rubbed your eye or touched your nose or your lips, you know that it can burn. And these are hot peppers. These are Hungarian wax peppers, are the yellowish colored ones. Those are hotter than a jalapeno, and even just jalapenos will give me that burn. So I recommend wearing gloves. These are just cheap little gloves I keep in my kitchen. Here I'm scraping some of the seeds out onto a paper towel, and that is how I save the seeds for my peppers. So I do that with all of my peppers here for this recipe. I mentioned the Hungarian wax ones, and then you'll notice there's a reddish one and some green ones. Those are all just jalapenos from the garden. You can really use any hot peppers that you like, depending on your heat tolerance or preference. And here I just cut them up roughly, and I put them into a little blender that came across with my immersion blender, just to make sure they were finely diced. And then we're ready to put everything together. So adding your tomatoes, peppers, and onions to a large stainless steel pot over medium-high heat. Stir it all together to get everything evenly distributed, and then we add in our final ingredients. So we're adding in our apple cider vinegar, adding in your minced garlic, and then your coriander or cilantro, whichever you're using or prefer, and finally some salt. I'd say I used about 1 teaspoon of salt here. Then give it a good stir, get everything incorporated throughout, and we're ready to start cooking. I do add one additional ingredient, and that's some tomato paste. Our preference is that the salsa is a bit more saucy and less watery, and because this is a lot of fresh stuff, it's going to release a lot of liquid. So that tomato paste makes it into a sauce. Be careful not to overcook these. If you overcook it, it will lose some of its spice and the pepper flavors. So this batch is my second batch, and I actually cooked it a little bit longer than the first, and there was a noticeable difference in the spice level. Finally, you're ready to fill your hot jars with hot salsa, always making sure that temperature is the same, and then process in a water bath canner for 15 minutes for pints. This made up for me 6 pints of that hot salsa. I also made 4 pints of just a basic garden salsa, also from the ball canning recipe book if you're interested. For my nephew, he likes non-spicy salsa. I hope you try making your own salsa and enjoy the recipe. Take care. Bye.